stars in the sky for you. And the tears in my eyes are for you. Yes, I cry these tears for you.
It goes on and on and on, I'm here for you. It goes on and on and on, I live for you. It goes on and on and on, I'm here for you. It goes on and on, yeah. All right, hello everyone. My name is Julian. Welcome to Mind Over Bank, and I have a guest with me. And would you please introduce yourself?
It's Danny. Danny right here.
All right. So this is my not first video, second actually, but my first video interviewing someone. So the first video that I have up on my channel, which you'll be able to see the links at the end of this video. That video is dedicated to just an introduction to the channel. So I didn't really, well, I didn't at all. I didn't promote that first video. I just wanted to have it there just so that if, you know, if someone stumbles across this video or the channel and they wanted to get more information about it, they could actually go to that first video on YouTube and they can watch it and get an idea of what this channel will bring. All right, so if you didn't check out the first video, please go do that. That'll fill you in with what exactly this channel will offer. Okay, I did say that this channel is gonna cover three things, you know, mindfulness sessions, psychoeducational videos, and then the interviews. All right, so obviously this is one of the interviews that we will be doing today, and this is, so when I said that we'd be doing the interviews, it'd either be between like someone actually in the field, so that might, whether that may be like, you know, a therapist or counselor or doctor, or just, you know, people outside the professional who would you know, like to share their story on how they have what they've done and what they have put in place to actually, you know, progress through life. So I know that you know, everyone has their own story. Okay, you know, no situation is the same. Okay, but one thing that definitely is the same is the emotions themselves. All right, and how they feel. All right, they can certainly affect us differently, but you know, the you know, face value of these emotions, whether they be, you know, anger, anxiety, depression, sadness, okay, those, you know, all are relatable. Okay, so I'm gonna be, you know, interviewing people from many walks of life, different paths of life. Definitely looking forward to that, trying to get a diverse you know, a diverse group of people, all right, to do these interviews, so that way it's not just like one-sided. We have, as I said, people just from all walks of life, different ages, you know, male, female, all right, you know, depression, anxiety, whatever, sadness, all that doesn't have a face. Okay, and you'd be surprised to you know, to know that that may be an issue within your family, and you may not even know. And one thing I wanted to also talk about, or just put out there, is that the people that I bring up to this interview are not necessarily currently going like through some sort of like, you know, life altering kind of thing. That's something I definitely wouldn't want to do, because this wouldn't be this would not be a time and place for that, you know. So the people I bring up here is not like I'm saying, you know, co-signing off on, oh yeah, this person here is going through something, let me, you know. No, that's not what that is. If that was the case, I probably actually refer them, you know, or link them to, you know, professionals to get help or something like that, or, you know, link them to resources. So that's one thing I wanted to make clear. So people I bring up here are not currently going through, you know, some kind of, you know, distressing life event or anything like that. And the people I bring up here are not, haven't necessarily gone through, or necessarily gone or been at rock bottom. Okay, I said there's just people from different walks of life at different points in their life. The main thing I want to focus on, for these interviews is, ways of overcoming distress. Okay, ways of overcoming, and doesn't matter who you are, myself included. We all go through things, okay, and they affect us in a way. Okay, what I want to talk about is what do we do, to overcome those issues. That's what I want to focus on. I don't want to sit here and focus on, okay, what have you been through, and and kind of like almost re-traumatize or relive that experience. That's one thing I do not want to do. I definitely don't want to trigger, my audience or anything like that. So there may be some times where, I'll briefly, or maybe like I'll ask certain questions to give like a background, on certain things, maybe, especially like sensitive topics, if there's any sensitive topics. But the focus here is going to be, okay, well, what did you do? What did you think of to overcome, this life event, or this period in your life? What helped you, get to the next stage in your life? All right. And another thing I wanted to mention too is that this is not like a therapy session or anything like that. All right. So it's not like I'm gonna be sitting up here and it's gonna be like it can. This video is to some extent it can be viewed as therapeutic. All right, but as I said, it's not like I'm sitting here with Danny one-on-one and we're like talking about things that you might hear in a therapy session or anything like that, like a one-on-one. No. So I'm not going to be going too deep into things. It's just, like I said, I'm trying to keep it, I have a direction that I want this to go, and the last thing I want, that to go is somewhere in a dark place, so yeah, but, and I don't say that to take away from, the channel. One thing that I strive to do is keep this real, when it's raw. So this in itself is not like, it's not like me and Danny met and met beforehand and talked about, okay, this is how it's gonna look and this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna ask. Nothing like that. Yeah. So like there's not like a paper I have in front of me. This is not scripted. As I'm talking, I don't even know like all of the questions I'm gonna ask, so this is something that it's real. All right. Real for us, real for you guys, so you guys get to see that interaction, and I think that helps too with just like with helping understand that no one is perfect. We all make mistakes. You know what I mean? So I don't want to give you guys something that is not authentic, and edit it and all that. Like this is just going to be just a raw video, and yeah, and there certainly, I know once it ends I'll probably go back to it and be like, dang, like I wish I would have asked them that. What I mean? That certainly will happen. Like that happens in my group sessions where I work. You know what I mean? Like I'm in a session and then after it ends I'm like, dang, I should have asked that or asked it in this way or responded in this way. But that's the thing with like these live situations, and that's just how life is. You know what I mean? Like when you go into while you're living, as you're living now, we don't know what is to come. All right, and we're not going to have a script on what's going to happen and what are our options. All right, we don't know until we're actually in that moment and we have to respond to it. You know what I mean? So that's another thing too that I hope that you guys can see through this channel. Is like this is real, unscripted, and I hope that is like a big piece to this that'll help connect you guys with us. All right, vice versa. And certainly as this video goes on, if there's questions that anyone has, certainly drop them down into the the comment section, and then I can always revisit them if it's question directed towards Danny, I can always come back to him and ask him, hey, this person asked this, he'll respond, and I can, send it back, or, whatever the case is. This is, like I said, this is the first video, first interview, so it's I see how things go, and this is really kind of like, yeah, like a tester almost, not even a tester, because this is live and real, but from here, will I then be able to tweak it in ways that I see best, okay, in the way that I see is best for my audience too, okay. So I wanted to make everyone aware of that. All right. So yeah, bear with us if there's any moments where it's just like me and Danny just trying to work things out. I'm going to facilitate in the best way that I can, but yeah, so this is primarily going to be uploaded through YouTube, and I do have a TikTok. There is an Instagram as well, but the main platform is the YouTube. All right, and like I said, you'll see the links of like the other stuff too. So if you're wondering, hey, what's this or what's that, the information you'll be able to see it at the end of the video, and even probably like somewhere in my channel too, you'll be able to see it. All right, so now that I got that out the way, to kind of like set the stage, I wanted to then proceed with the actual interview itself. All right, so as I said, my name's Julian, right? And I have here Danny. All right, and there's gonna be some things that I'm gonna ask him, and he's gonna be responding to. But as I said, the main focus here is, okay, what thoughts and what behaviors, all right, are being used to help propel us through these unfortunate circumstances, or uncomfortable experiences in life. All right, because that is what's going to be helpful with or could be helpful with our own issues. All right, and certainly what Danny says doesn't mean that, hey, okay, well, if he did it, maybe that's the exact way I should do it. No, we're all going through different life events. We respond to them differently. All right, so there certainly may be some things that Danny shares that that can be helpful, and there might be other things where it's just not for you, and that's okay. You can maybe grab an idea or a technique from Danny, try it out, it doesn't work. That doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just might mean that it does not work for you. So the question here is, what does work for me? Okay, and I'm hoping that that's what this channel brings. The more people, as time passes and I have more people sharing, you'll hear different things from this person, different things from that person, and then you might be able to kind of like get this accumulation of different techniques that work for you. All right, so even if you grab maybe just one thing from this video that you find helpful, I feel like that in itself is a good thing and a win. Yes. So I'm not saying that this whole video will be or everything that's talked about or discussed in this video may be helpful for you, but if you can even just grab one thing, then that's great. And one thing I'll be mentioning throughout the life of this channel is the importance of attentiveness. All right, being in the present moment, because without that, the ability to retain information is quite difficult. All right, like even as I'm sitting here, I'm doing all the talking right now, but as Danny's sitting here, let's say like he's in his head, right? Like he's not even thinking about what's going on. Maybe he's thinking about, hey, what I'm doing after here. That's not being in the present moment. Okay, and not to say that's a bad thing. He might just be thinking about he might not even be thinking about something bad, or even you right now as you're watching this, you might not even, let's say your mind is wandering, you might not even be thinking about anything that's really bad or negative, but the point here is that you're not in the present moment, you're not attentive of what's going on around you, so you're not in the present moment, you're not mindful of what's going on. And if you find that difficult to do, on a daily, struggling with these, uncomfortable emotions, they become that much more difficult to tolerate, because you don't know how to get out of your head. You know what I mean? And think of like anxiety, depression. Anxiety is more future based, because it's the unknown. We don't know. Okay, we're worried about something that has not happened yet. That's why we're worried. That's what creates anxiety. Okay, so we can have thoughts aligned with that. All right, and you can also have thoughts aligned with the past too. That can be something that we think about a lot too. Us dwelling on past events, things that happened in the past that maybe we regret, that we feel guilty of, that we're ashamed of, that we wish we could have did better in a different way. Our head can be there too. So our head can be stuck in the past. It can be stuck in the future. All right. When you're doing either of the two, you're not in the present moment. Okay. But you need the present moment is important, because it helps you with fighting those thoughts. Okay. Those thoughts based in the past and or the future. Okay. So maybe that can be something too that you do through the life of this channel. Like not only listening to what, we're saying, okay, but also trying your best to stay in the present moment. So for however long this video is, whether it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you do your best to stay in the present moment, remain attentive, and listen. And if you can do that, you're in the present moment. And when you're in the present moment, it's very, very difficult. I'd say impossible. It is impossible to think of the past, to think of the future. All right, and it might only last like 5 seconds when you're in the present moment, because we have these thoughts that come and go. All right, but I'd rather have you, throughout the day, have breaks or moments where you're in the present moment, opposed to being in your head 24/7. Okay, so this might even be, an opportunity for you to learn to stay in the present moment, like listening. As I'm talking right now, like what are you doing? Are you on another app on your phone? Are you looking at something? Are you doing something else while you're listening to this video? I'm not sitting here and telling you what you should do, okay? But the things that we discuss and talk about may be helpful with combating these intrusive negative thoughts. Okay, so that was a longer than usual, kind of like roll into the actual interview. But as I said, this is the very first one, so I kind of wanted to just lay down the gist of it. So hopefully from now on, it'll kind of be just like, okay, boom, here's this person, and kind of just roll right into it. All right. So, who's Danny? So, this person's sitting next to me right now.
Yeah. So
you have to explain yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so pretty much, I was actually raised over here in the Lehigh Valley to a certain extent. It's kind of hard to say that I was fully raised over here, because the last time I lived over in Lehigh Valley was in 8th grade. And for some reason, my mother thought it'd be a smart idea just to kind of throw a dart at a map and land in Idaho. So from there, it just kind of was one of those things where, being as a kid, I went from a different way of life, just different environment, culture shock, everything. So a whole nother place that's a small town. Me and my twin sister, I swear we were the only brown people inside the high school, but it was definitely an experience, because it wasn't racist. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. I didn't feel that type of way. It was definitely unique in its way, because they could tell we weren't from there.
Okay.
And from there I went to high school. I graduated over there in high school in Idaho, and then decided just bounce over to California, where I had other family. And my uncle allowed me to stay with him for a little bit. But after high school, you kind of want to figure out what do you want to do with yourself if you're not going to college.
Yeah.
And for me, I just felt like there was something I needed to do with myself. And my uncle was in the military, and just tell me all the time, if you don't know what you want to do, go to the military. There's no losing in that case, because you have all the benefits to gain, and plus an experience. So I felt like that was the best option. So from California, from Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, all the way over to Idaho to California, I lived in New York, and that's where I was stationed. So my life has been this journey of going from a kid to adult, which is bouncing around so much with not really much stability in a way where it was bad, but it was a journey of life.
Okay.
And it definitely has taught me a lot, because it was a very, very interesting ride. not a lot of people can say that they actually moved from here to Idaho, and
When you say here, what?
Like Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. I mean,
Okay.
there's just more culture over here. It's just a different life from what you hear in Idaho,
Yeah.
And it's definitely been a journey, but I lived around pretty much the U.S. for the most part, is what it sounds like, and it has led me back over here after the military because I have family and some opportunities over here. So I figured it'd be best, and I'm here now, and this is where we're at right now in life. And the longevity goal is to actually move to Arizona. So that's just the whole point of my my goal of where I want to live in the future. There's just a lot of opportunity over there, and it's a pretty nice place to live if you could get over the heat.
Okay. I don't mean to interrupt you at all, but I kind of wanted to bring up a few points from what you just shared, right? Just a bit ago. So it seems as if there was a lot of you were very mobile, going from one place to another, as far as location wise, seeking new and different opportunities. I kind of wanted to focus a little bit on that because I noticed that for you it seems as if it didn't faze you. Hey, okay, this is where this this opportunity here, or this place looks like I can do better for myself with making that decision, right? And that kind of seems like what you did, multiple times, trying to just find what works best for you, and kind of just try to helping with just even your identification. Who am I as a person? What am I into? What do I like? What am I passionate about? That kind of thing. And that started early on. And I think for most people, they're exposed to that as they get older, go from middle school to high school. But although everyone is exposed to it, what separates one side from another is one side may be open to accepting and trying out these new opportunities, which it seems as if what you did, even with joining the military, that's like something huge, right? Yeah. And then you have another side where they may know that, hey, this current situation is not good, or I can do better. I see that I have this, that, maybe these options for me, but, and this is the big thing that separates this side from the other side, is they may be too concerned, worried, or even nervous, anxious about making that that leap, because they don't know. And it kind of goes back with the whole anxiety too, like the unknown. Like, hey, if I go to this state, if I go to the military, and I'm kind of speaking like through your lens, if I make these decisions, these choices, how will it affect me, and what will it bring? Because who's to say that if I go to this state, or if I join the military, or if I take this job offer, that things are going to be better? No one knows that, and that is a fact, But for those people who struggle with saying, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go for it, like what advice could you offer to those people kind of like hesitating to take it upon themselves to make that decision? And I guess this is not just aimed at adolescents, because I know that's kind of like where you're starting with this story. Yeah. But I think that this can apply to anyone at any age, at any point in their life. You can be a married a married person with a whole family, and maybe there's something going on where there might be a better job offer in another state or something like that, or just some kind of like circumstance where you have an option but you're maybe hesitant on taking it or doing it because you're kind of like you don't know like what is to come from it. Like, what advice would you give? And maybe even through like the examples that you had, like what fueled you to say, you know what, hey, maybe this isn't working for me, or maybe there's better here. Like, what really pushed you? Like, what were some things you thought of, maybe some things you did to help you make those decisions, and kind of like saying, you know what, let's do it.
I definitely had to thank my mother on like knowing that before me, and this is just what I'm just gonna put out before myself, because I didn't understand why my mother decided to move to Idaho whatsoever. I didn't like. I almost was frustrated not knowing, because as a kid you're getting taken away from a place where you have friendships, to where you have family, and you're just being essentially forced at a young age to not understand or know how it's going to go down. But to move to a whole nother place with not knowing nobody, no family members, no friends, nothing besides the Google reviews on what you're investing your time into looking into before you go there. And my mother knew what she was doing, because no matter what it is that was over here that decided for her to leave from here, is that things happen for a reason, you know. And I didn't really understand that until I got older. And it's definitely, you know, it leads me to live more in the moment too, because it makes sense, you know. That's just part of the journey of life, is not knowing why I was going over there. But to know that even though it definitely was a change and it wasn't for everybody to live there for their whole life, it's definitely it's a part of life that not a lot of people are able or blessed to see an opportunity, or even just like live another day, you know. And that kind of falls into like worrying about the future and not living in the moment. Is that I would always wonder why like older people or people with wisdom, you know, or even mature people that would tell me that just live it in the moment, live it in the moment, this is what it's for, is because we don't know. Naturally we're younger and we're not really gonna, it's hard to appreciate something when you have it, but when you don't have it, you appreciate it. That's like your natural like instinct, like that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that comes into place of like your walk of life. You know, there's certain things and morals and values that you got to put into yourself to be able to see it through that lens. You know, you got to be appreciative, and even if it's tough, you don't understand it, you got to understand it for what it is. You know, because I guarantee you, if you look back on it and you're miserable on it and you're still miserable, you won't be able to understand it. But you got to have a mindset to be able to appreciate certain things, have gratitude, and see it out of a lens for it's not just you. You know, there's a bigger purpose and a reason. And if I could give anybody advice or recommendation for something that they're hesitant on, is that you got to go with your heart. You got to go with your heart for a lot of things, because, you know, sometimes like your mind could give you the logic behind certain things, but it takes time to understand deep down. Like if it's still in your mind and your heart is like questioning yourself for something good, then that is something I really look into in myself. And especially when it comes to going somewhere, or if certain things don't work out, I try to look at it in a way where it's like, maybe this is happening for a reason. Like, because we're so hard on ourselves to like not see the good in the situation, if that makes any sense. So we hate the struggle. It's like we want to speed through the weekend to get through the weekend, or to make it to the weekend, but the weekend flies so by and we wonder why. It's like our moment is what really matters the most. And that's just the genuine, like, that's just, you got to see it that way, because if you don't, then it's like, what is the point of life? You know,
for real.
And I get we all have our struggles, and I get we all have our walks of life, and not everybody has it the same. But you know, one thing we do, and like you were saying in the beginning, is that we all have emotions. Even if we had different tiers of emotions, or more emotion than another person, is that if you have purity inside your heart, you're definitely going to want better for yourself. And it becomes frustrating if you don't want better for yourself, because you know deep down, I think everybody deserves well. Even if you got to go through your own L's or your lessons in life, like, that's part of it. And I could just say live through the moment, you know what I'm saying? Have morals and values to be able to appreciate every single day, and understand it that way. You know, because you do learn things, and that's the beauty of life, you know. I could definitely say that. Okay.
I really like that, the things you mentioned around like that appreciation and gratitude. And I even the piece where you mentioned how, like, when we have something, we may, not saying that we always do, but we might take some of these things that we do have for granted, not knowing that it could all be gone, you know, in a split second. I mean, even simply just waking up each day, you know what I mean? The fact that, like, none of us, no human on this planet is promised tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here right now in this moment, I'm living, right? I'm not promised tomorrow. You know what I mean? Nor are you. And that's crazy. Like, just like thinking of that, like, yo, like,
it scares a lot of people.
It does, yeah. It really does. And I think that unknown is what fuels that anxiety? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that makes us human and that we all share. So we're definitely not alone in that feeling. You know what I mean? But despite that, it's important that we do live in the present moment, because, you know, we again, we're not promised tomorrow, and, you know, we can, I think as humans, like, we're very, like,
critical with ourselves.
Yes, critical with ourselves, and we might, not might, but we have this idea or these plans of, like, okay, this is what needs to get done, this is what's next, this is what my goal is. And I think, but that's something we do throughout our whole life. You know, it's kind of like, okay, what do I want or what do I need, and how do I get those things, right? And for some of those goals that we have, we are able to kind of like check them off the list. But the thing is, what happens, and this kind of goes with that, the appreciation that you mentioned, like, when we lack gratitude, all right, those things that we do have, those goals that maybe we did check off, we don't appreciate for their worth, we don't indulge in them. We might just look at, okay, what's next? You know, that's like almost like we treat it like a checklist. I got these things done, or I have these things, all right, this was taken care of, what's next?
Minor or major.
You know what I mean? And when we have that mindset, we don't ever appreciate what we currently do have. We're always looking at, okay, well, what's next? All right, I got this, okay, boom, that's out the way, check it off. What's next? What's next? What's next? And we're kind of like, we're always like this step ahead, but we're not actually just fine and okay with just looking at what we do have and the goals that we do have or have completed, okay? And it's like this, you almost feel like this never-ending cycle. You're like, you can almost feel like this lack of contentment and like never satisfied. Not to say that it's true for everyone, but you can easily get sucked into that because of, like, you're looking for this void that you're constantly trying to fill, you know? So yeah, I think living in the present moment definitely has its has its perks, especially when it comes to gratitude and appreciation. So no, I totally agree with that.
You know, one thing I do agree with, like what you just said right there, is that, like, a lot of people are missing a void. Like, they want to be able, maybe they look for it in certain ways, or they may not be able to fulfill it in the right ways by abusing something that you would think is helping you but really isn't. And it's different for certain people because everybody has their own walk of life. And not only that, but that all comes down to what they've seen, you know, what they're lacking and what the generation before them is lacking. And so, like, I look at it as a bigger picture with somebody else, you know, and that's another thing I take in consideration for myself, because there's always somebody out there who has it harder than you. Like, if that doesn't humble you enough, and some people, they may not be able to see it that way, and it doesn't help anything at a given moment, but also it puts you in a mindset, and you teach your brain in a way of being humble and staying humble, no matter how tough things get, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because you're seeing stuff that's going on in Israel right now. Like, that is no joke. You know, it's unfortunate and it's sad, but sometimes how the cookie crumbles is how it is. But also, you want to be able to appreciate what you have for yourself right now, because nobody wants to be in those conditions. And I don't need to make it on that type of topic, but put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You know, some of us take a lot of things for granted, especially while we're young. It happens so easily. And yeah, as you get older, like, you learn certain things, and it doesn't even have to just be with age, but experiences or events that you've been through. That is something that you soak in for yourself, and you rather learn it now while you're younger, and you never stop learning. So I don't want to say a specific age or time on it, but you know, you want to be able to learn things throughout life that you got to go through the struggles. Like, what's the point of life if you're not struggling somewhere? You know, it's like playing a video game. It's like playing GTA and maxing out everything with cheat codes. It's like there's no point in the game no more. That gets tiring quick. So
yeah,
and I don't mean to kind of pivot, like, you know, into this conversation on how rich dudes who have everything materialistically, but really they're not. They have no soul. You know, why is that? You're just, you know, I get we all lack financially somewhere, or we have at some point. But in that case, it's your money can't buy your happiness to a certain degree. Like, it could buy you the materialistic things, and nobody could win a debate about that. Can make your life, set up in certain ways that you want it to be. But where does money really define money? Financial freedom? What is, like, is there a certain way of verbalizing it? Because people will say, money, give me 100,000 right now, and it's like, it will solve your problems, or would it? And some people work for it. Some people have that hustle and that ambition. But let's be real, man. You got to be able to, like, see it the day for what it is. And, I really take that in consideration for myself. It's I really wish that for everybody. I think I think this whole world would be different if everybody just lives in the moment, and just doesn't worry about the future. And it's I really wish we could all see it that way, but it's not like that. And I could really just give advice at this point,
Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback off some of the things you said in the very beginning, I know you kind of went into talking about how like, when looking at our own situation, and though it may be stressful, there's and of course we don't want to compare in a way where it's we're thinking we're better than a person, but there's absolutely someone who is there's people handling and flourishing in life, handling problems well and flourishing in life, and then there's other people who are the opposite, who may be struggling more than you, or not doing as much, or doing as good as you currently, or feel as good as you do. And I think that helps with I think looking in that perspective can help with getting someone out of, like, a victim mentality. You know what I mean? Because when someone has this a victim mentality, they kind of look at themselves as if, okay, like, poor me, and not to minimize someone's issues and problems. Like, yeah, that does suck, and damn, like, that can really impact you and has impacted you. But when you look at what's wrong with your life and adopt this victim mentality, it's hard to make change, and it's really easy for you to stay stuck. Because you kind of, like, you there's actually, they call it secondary gains, which you get from like, having a mentality like that. Meaning, like, although I might not be, although there'll probably be a lot that would change for the better for me if I change these problems or fix these problems, but there are some secondary gains that come with it. Meaning, like, hey, I get so much pity from these people, and support and reassurance from all of these people because I'm going through these things. I like that attention and whatnot. And it could be attention seeking, reassurance seeking. Those are all distress escape methods. They actually are temporary. They might feel good. If someone came to you and say, hey, like, no, it's going to be okay. That's great. That feels good. But if you don't ever take that advice and try to make change and do something, you're going to stay stuck in that position, in that situation, and change is going to be hard to come by. So looking at, like, kind of like I said, looking at, like, our situation, and remembering that, hey, we're not alone. We're not the only one going through these things. There's certainly people in a worse predicament situation. Last thing we want is this victim mentality, all right, because it keeps us stuck. What can we do? What are our options to try and make this change and get out of, because you can go from a victim to a survivor to a thriver. Obviously, we want to be one who thrives. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing I kind of wanted to just wrap up that piece that you mentioned with that, the kind of comparing ourselves to other people, and that even funnels in with the gratitude as well too. Remembering, hey, like, things do suck, or I'm going through some stuff, but what am I thankful of? Like, what do I have? And it may not be much, right? But all behaviors can be changed, and who's to say that you're gonna the rest of your life is going to look like that. And certainly it very well could if you don't ever try to make change, or put in effort, and when it comes to effort, yesterday's effort will not be the same as today's effort. But just because maybe it was less effort today doesn't mean that you should give yourself a pat on the back for at least giving your best. And I think that's kind of where, when it comes to effort, that's one thing I kind of like to be mindful of, is like, hey, although maybe I didn't complete everything or do everything, or this didn't turn out the way I wanted to, I could sit here and say that I gave my all, gave my best. You know what I mean? Our worth is defined in effort, not outcome. Because certainly we can give our best but still fall short of these goals. And that can be frustrating, because it's like, damn, like I gave my all, so what that means, like this will never ever be, never be resolved. Not necessarily. Like every day is a different day. Yesterday is not like today. Although you may be doing the same things, you're not thinking the same things, right? There's so many, our minds, just the way they operate. We think of different things in new ways, in different things. So many, moments throughout the day that it's impossible to have the same day. So certainly don't want to compare, yesterday's effort or progress to today's, because, as I said, each day is different.
It is.
But I think that, kind of going back to your story of you taking this risk and making these decisions, that is why you're here today. You know what I mean? Because there's certainly and there's certainly things that maybe we took risk with and we regret. You know what I mean? But the one thing that that we all go through and live when it comes to life is, making a decision and possibly either being successful or failing. You know what I mean? I'd rather have one fail than two do nothing. Because with failure, you can at least learn from that mistake and do different. When it comes to doing nothing, there's nothing for you to work with. There's no data, no evidence, nothing for you to work with. So you, and that in itself probably just adds to the anxiety, because then you're kind of thinking like, man, what if I did this? And you're left with, you're left with a bunch of unknown and probably regrets. All right, so I'm glad that you were able to, throughout the years, through middle school, through high school, into your military career, you did not let the unknown stop you from trying to make change and be better and do better. And who's to say that you made a decision and that you weren't successful? I'm sure you can give examples of where you thought making this decision would be best, but it didn't turn out that way. But that's all part of the journey. There's going to be success, there's going to be failure, but as I said, I'd rather have one fail than two do nothing. But yeah, I do believe that that's one reason, a big reason as to why we're here talking and you're here and you're doing great things, good things for yourself, becoming a better person, is because you went and took risk. I think joining the military, that's like, talk about risk, that's like, there's a lot of risk.
People do it. A lot of people do it.
A lot of risk with that. So that just goes to show you, like, how life changing some of these decisions can be, for the better for us. And motivation can certainly be like a big thing that,
big factor in it.
That prevents one from doing these things. So then that kind of wanted me to ask this next question, like, for someone like, let's say, maybe hesitant on trying to make change in their life because, let's say, low motivation, like
something's holding them back.
What is there any advice that you would give for a person struggling with low motivation? Like, what maybe are things that the person can think of, do differently, do less of, to help. Like even if it's like, you know, like maybe like a it doesn't have to be like anything monumental, but even like a simple little tip, like, hey, this is what, when I'm feeling like down or low, you know, this is what I do to kind of get me back into, you know, the rhythm of things. Or like, is there anything that...
Yeah, you know, I think a really good question to ask somebody is that if you were to die tomorrow, what would you do in your last day? What would you do today? And I'm sure anybody would agree that, like, they would forget all their grudges that they had. They would clear everything that they had out their way, the bad relationships, bad friendships, whatever, anything they did bad, they will come clean about. Or maybe they won't. I don't know. But there's a sense that they want to be able to die. Not die, but be the person that's good before they die. And you want good for yourself. Everybody, like no matter, because we all learn at different paces. Like, you gotta want good for yourself somewhere down your road of your line. Like you gotta have some understanding that, like, you want better for yourself when you take somebody else. You know, and just at that point, you want better for yourself. I mean, you have to at some point, right? But if you don't have another day tomorrow, then you're not gonna stress about tomorrow, because you know this is the only day you got. So it's like, if you tell that to somebody, there will be an emotion that will probably release through their body to understand that I actually want better for yourself, and they would want to do things better if they were to live. And that all comes down to living in the moment. Exactly. Obviously, you want to plan for the future, but you can only control what you have right now. And it's funny because obviously I work in sales right now. My boss would tell me, because I have a competitive mindset, so I want to be able to make more money for myself. So if there's somewhere where I'm lacking my monthly goal for my target for the month, and I'm not getting certain things on the timely manner that I want to, I get hard on myself, and that comes down to us being critical, because we want better for ourselves, and because there's things we can control and can't control. The things that you can control, if you don't meet a certain daily expectation, whatever the case is, you have that edge to you that wants better for yourself, and you can't get it, and it almost becomes like contradicting with wanting to live in a moment, but also we're human. Like, it's hard to, it's very easy to you know, it's easier said than done, you know. And I think once my boss sent me that, I take that in consideration every single day. If I do get in a mood where it's not the best day, or it's not going the way I want it to, or it could be better, whatever the case is, like, you could only control what you have right now in the moment, but you gotta want to understand that and know that, you know. If there's things you want more for your future, but you want to be able to set yourself up in the future where you can be successful, and that comes with daily habits or bad habits that you have. You want to be able to change those. You want to change those into good things for yourself, you know. And it's all got to come from you deep down. You know, some of us are so worried about what other people think about us because we're not the best of where we need to be, or we're just not what they want, whatever the case is. Like, there's so many things that could pull us away from, like, being yourself in the moment. And it's how we deal with it, man. It's really how we deal with it. That's just, it's the path of life, you know. You know, like, it all comes down to, like, you learn stuff new every single day. And, and you just, I appreciate it, man. I really do, and I try to live it in the moment. And we're still not perfect, you know. We know we're perfectly imperfect human beings, like, and I thank God I'm here right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's far more important. You know, without him, I don't know where I'd be. You know, I'm not going to get into the religious aspect of it, but, you know, I definitely appreciate things in the pureness of my heart now because of that reason, you know. And if I didn't, I feel like I'd be so caught up in what goes on in the world instead of just living for it, you know.
Exactly.
And you know, that's really the best advice I give. So if anybody asks you for advice of any kind, of what they could do better, or if they're struggling, or if they're kind of just like in this mood or this funk where they don't want to be appreciative. I don't want to say be appreciative, but you see that they're kind of lacking gratitude somewhere, they're too hard on themselves, is that tomorrow's not promised, and that fears a lot of people for a very deeper reason than what we know. So reverse car Uno, you know, it's a good one right there, to make them understand that. So
all right, okay. All right. I like that. And one last thing I want to say before we wrap up, actually, is again, just piggybacking off of what you said.
Yeah.
You talked about like control, looking at looking at what we have control of, and trying to make change in those things. And one piece of advice I wanted to give when it comes, when it comes to looking at self-control or those things that we control, the two things we control most is how we can respond to our thoughts and our behaviors. So and this is going back to like CBT triangle, cognitive behavioral therapy. You have thoughts, feelings, behaviors. Thoughts and behaviors are the 2 points on the triangle you can control. All right, maybe not you. We all have automatic thoughts, and thoughts just come up. We can't really control that, but we control how we respond to them, because that's going to make a big difference on how what emotion comes from that. Because our emotions come from, they're a product of our thoughts. They're a product of our behaviors. We do something that makes us feel a certain way. We think of something that makes us feel a certain way. So when we're looking at control, learning how to respond to your thoughts in a supportive, helpful, realistic way, and also making change in your behaviors, doing more or less of a certain thing. Those two things we have most control of, thoughts and behaviors. And if we can make change in those 2 points, those two areas, then it will definitely affect how we feel.
Yep.
And I just talked about, we were talking about motivation. Motivation is a feeling, so like looking at, okay, well, what can I do to feel more motivated? Target your thoughts, target your behaviors. Okay, make change in those two areas. All right, and best believe you'll see a boost in motivation. Maybe not right away, you know what I mean, but over time, as we develop habits, you can surely see your motivation increase. Okay, maybe not significantly right away, but this is a journey, and this is a process, and it takes time.
Yeah.
And so part of this whole journey, patience is required. Okay, but yeah, that's kind of, we're approaching that hour mark. I didn't want to make it too long or anything like that, but I think there were some good talking points that we discussed, and I appreciate you for making this possible, making it happen. And yeah, so people, if you have questions, about anything that we said, or maybe just things you wanted to add on, like, feel free to to interact with the video, comment, whatever it is. Above all, if you're going to interact with it in some way, you don't have to like it, but if anything, share it to those people that you think would benefit from something like this. Okay, whether it be a family, friend, anything like that. That's what I'm looking for. It's not for necessarily me, but more so just trying to make change, positive change in those around us. All right, and that's possible by word of mouth. So yeah, that concludes this video here. Again, this is Danny. This will be something that I post definitely on the Instagram page. You'll see here, probably I mentioned on TikTok, so feel free to share it. And yeah, this is Mind Over Bank. All right, so we're checking out, and thank you for your attention. All right.
You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? That ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it.